as you said, the war was necessary for Russia. I had a debate on this with my elder brother. He was saying if Russia had kept the army at the border, the pressure would be the same on Ukraine. What would be the other scenario if the Russians kept their army at the border? And the other question is, how will Putin justify to Russia the invasion was inevitable? Putin is solely blamed as if it was his madness to invade Ukraine. Was war the only solution? Okay, so let's say the first question is, what if the Russians had only kept the army at the borders? Then would all the problems be resolved? No. Then Ukraine would have a legitimate reason for joining NATO, and the Americans would have sent troops, and maybe further provocations would have ensued. And the regime would not have changed in Ukraine. The regime that was illegally, illegitimately, unconstitutionally put in place in 2014 in the NATO-led coup would have stayed in place. And therefore, the objective, which is regime change, would never have been achieved. It's still not achieved as of today, 10 days into the intervention, but I suppose it will happen in the next 10 days or so. So yes, so going to war was necessary in order to effect the regime change and in order to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine. Without the military intervention, those things would not have happened. It's still a work in progress. But yes, so the war was necessary. Just keeping the army on the borders of Ukraine would not have solved these problems that Mr. Putin seeks to resolve. Right. So the regime change would not have happened. Ukraine would not have been demilitarized, and Ukraine would certainly not have been denazified. So those three objectives could never have been achieved by keeping the Russian army on the borders of Ukraine. It needed a proper military intervention. Now, the other question is, was war the only solution? How will Putin justify to the Russians that the invasion was inevitable? I just laid out the entire history of the matter. The Russians were given a guarantee by the Americans in February 1990 that NATO would not expand a single inch eastward, and they have broken that guarantee repeatedly. 1999, 2004, 2009, 2017, and then in 2021, 22, again the provocations continued. Ukraine could have become a member of NATO. Bosnia Herzegovina and Georgia also. These are incredibly grave provocations. They are encircling Russia. This essentially is a matter of life and death for Russia at this point. So the invasion, the military intervention can be justified, can be clearly justified if you put it into the right context, in the context of the never-ending eastward expansion of NATO in breach of the guarantee that the Russians were given. So that justifies what Mr. Putin has done. That's the Russian view.